So we are live. Good evening, everyone. Namaste from India. Welcome to the much awaited event, World Peace Summit, organized by Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research, a virtual Grand Summit on Peace. It's a 4-day virtual event, and welcome to the second day of the event. Summit themes are peace education, global citizenship, amplifying voices of youth, women, peace and security, diplomats and religious scholars, talk, and climate action for peace. Rules and regulation works as a lubricant to run the event smoothly. So here are a few rules of today's session. Total duration of summit is 3 hours. Timing allotted for each speaker is 5 to 7 minutes. So it's a humble request to all the speakers to be in the given time frame. Om Asto Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityur Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. From ignorance, lead us to truth. From darkness, lead us to light. From death, lead us to immortality. Light and brightness has always been equated with positivity, motivation, and connect us with spiritual beings. The lamp is involved as Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. That means the lamp leads us from darkness towards light, the light of peace and prosperity. So following the ritual, let us invoke the lamp.
Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Let me give a formal introduction of CWSIR, Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research, is an NGO founded in 2019 by Dr. Smita Tiwari. It's an independent research institute through the Society Act 21-1860 based in Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh, India. And under the able presidentship of Dr. Abhishek Pandey, Charles Walter Society for Innovation visions for promoting research and innovation and targets the mission to strengthen the society with enlightened intellect and wisdom through the specific ideology from the specialized field. CWSIR is a staunch believer that research, creativity, and innovation can lead the entire fraternity of education to a destiny that can produce good literature, research scholars, national and international patents, and a wider perspective to develop and implement feasible definition of living in peace. And the entire credit goes to Dr. Abhishek Pandey, the president of this NGO, who is a gold medalist, research-oriented educational innovator with many recognitions, awards, and accolades, yet humble. Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research aims to provide a network for expanding the spirit of creativity, innovation, digital literacy in academia. It also provides a strong support to get original and peer-reviewed work published in academic journals of highest impact factor. And my name is Dr. Ravi Tripathi, and I'll be your moderator for the Day 2 session of World Peace Summit. I'm an educationist with more than 26 years of experience in teaching, training, coaching, and mentoring, and a principal of Sumitra Modern School, a K-12 CBSE school based at Sitapur, Uttar Pradesh, India, and also the Deputy Director, Curriculum, CWSI. Moving forward, I, on behalf of the family of Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research, wholeheartedly welcomes all the distinguished guests, of today's summit across the globe. Let me take the privilege to announce the guests of today's session. We are honored to have with us Professor Babu George, Associate Dean, Christian Brother University, USA, as chief guest of the summit. Welcome, sir. Next, we are humbled by the presence of today's guest of honor, Professor Gul Erkol Barian, Professor Turkey, as the guest of honor for today's event. We warmly welcome Monir Monka Basun Awad, Ministry of Science and Technology, China, CNPPRI, as the special guest. We have with us Professor Ajit Kaushik, Florida Polytechnic University, USA, to grace the event as yet another special guest. We also feel privileged with the gracious presence of Professor Arceloni Nusa Walpoto, Professor Brazil, as yet another special guest for today's session. We welcome the entire galaxy of keynote speakers and all the dignified intellectuals witnessing the second session of the World Peace Summit. Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research welcomes you all. Before moving forward, I would warmly welcome Dr. Abhishek Pandey, President, Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research, to share insight on the occasion of the World Peace Summit and declare the second day of the summit open. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Ravi. I would like to pay my gratitude to all the dignitaries present today on the occasion of this World Peace Summit, the Grand Virtual Summit. And we, being Hindu, we are the followers of Veda, as it is written, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve shantu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet. It means we are advocating the entire peace for the entire world, for the entire creature, for the entire universe, for the entire planet. We pray for the peacefulness of the matter which is yet existed in the universe, the system which is yet existed in the universe. Thank you very much to all the keynote speakers, guests of the day. And I would like to welcome you all on the platform of Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research. Without taking much time, I would like to hand this entire platform to Dr. Ravi Tripathi, the moderator of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your words, sir. Well, peace is something that we always look forward for. Moving forward with an intent that this summit will definitely create peace, prosperity, and love for mankind. Beginning with the session of the speakers, Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research feels privileged to welcome today's chief guest, Professor Babu George, Associate Dean, Christian Brother University, USA, to begin with the inaugural insight on peace. Over to you, sir.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you, Charles Walter Society, everyone, for organizing this event and making me a small part of your. This is a very timely topic. I do not want to spend more than 5 minutes. I will be very brief. I believe that has become a casualty of, and today's next 3 minutes, I will try to elaborate a little more about that. And I have a very short presentation. With your permission, I am sharing that. You please enable the sharing right for me. Yes, sir. In charge of the technology. All right, so I'll probably go ahead without without the sharing rights.
Madam Professor, sir, he wanted to share the screen. Am I audible to you?
Share the screen. Yeah. We are doing it, sir.
Oh, okay. Yes. I have the rights now. Thank you so much.
You're there. Yeah, you can do that.
Peace.
Please, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to spend a few minutes on this topic because I was thinking of what to speak, forum, and I thought during this pandemic, technology has emerged to be to the forefront of everything. So there is an important dimension connecting technology, because technologies that we use in education, in our inter-organizational information transfer, community-to-community relationships, technology is not just a sender, receiver, and processor of information, but technology has much greater dimension. And the way we leverage technologies could either bring peace, or particularly when the internet came, everyone hoped that it would bring equality or equality in the society, but it didn't really happen. So this is a very, very important issue to discuss. We see that during this pandemic, students, particularly in different countries, they suffer because of lack of access to technologies, their inability to leverage the best out of it. So on the one hand, we have all these technologies. Those technologies do not create a level playing field for everyone. The digital divide is very evident. It is very visible in every walk of life. And this digital divide appears also as economic divide, also as cultural divide. And because of all that, it finally has the impact of creating enmity, creating negative feelings. We have societies that are technologically have nodes, and the tension between these societies lead to tension in every other aspect of. So, as it is said, the internet has the potential to create a just and fair world, but ironically, it ended up widening the gap. Rich and poor. There are three kinds of divides. I mean, you think about an umpteen varieties of divides, but we could broadly classify them into three kinds of divides. One is the divide in terms of access to even the technologies that we use to gather information. Many people don't have that access. So what could we do in order to bridge that gap? And that is a very important question when it comes to peace and prosperity in our near future. Several countries became underdeveloped countries in the 20th century because of certain other divides. Fortunately, we bridged some of those divides, but then this technological divide came. How do we bridge the access issue? Likewise, how do we bridge the use issue? Like, for example, I may have access to the internet, but I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to find the right information. A lot of people have internet on their phone, but they don't know how to use it. And this has become an opportunity for crude individuals and groups to spread misinformation. So information warfare has become very common for life. So there are communities that become chambers where people develop radical ideas because they do not know how to access information and analyze in a scientific way. What is true? What is constructed truth? The last part of the divide is how to connect the information that we gather from technologies, wide web, and how to connect it with the greater questions of life. When this conference was inaugurated, we started with some of those greater questions. Peace is one of those. Many of us are engineers and technocrats, but our view of technologies and knowledge is very limited. We do not see the big picture. We see the trees, but we don't see the. That needs a higher level of need for developing higher level of thinking. This is my last slide. I'm not going to elaborate it because I have already overshot my allowed time. So some of the quick tips, I don't have the time to elaborate. Increase the affordability by open access knowledge and open source. Countries like India, they are actually doing much better than several other developed countries in the world. Cover the technology use. Make content and access friendly to differently abled groups. Unfortunately, a lot of content do not cater to people who are physically or mentally different ways. Make technology documentation in multiple languages because English is even now the only language by which people access and learn. Share the opportunity. It's very important. Like, we have things like interlibrary loans wherein we borrow books from other libraries. How would other technology sources that enable and empower individuals? There should be Internet neutrality is probably not a new concept, but more recently it has received far more attacks around the world. In many countries, there is no longer any net neutrality. Big corporates and those who can pay, they are at an advantage to spread their version of truth, their version of reality to everyone. And so it is very important that there should be a unchallenged level, not be subjected to whims and fancies, despots. Finally, as I said, invest in developing the thinking skills. Meetings like this during COVID-19, great deal of things for contribution in terms of that. All should contribute to developing people's logical, evaluative, and also creative thinking. Thank you everyone for listening to me. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Professor. Definitely, the correct option is bridging the gap. If we really want to establish peace, bridging the various gaps, that is the only way out. Thank you so much for your insight. Now, Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research feels elated to invite Captain Dr. Dinisha Bhardwaj Singh, ex-Indian Army officer. She's a principal, Global Indian International School, Malaysia. I would welcome her to share her insightful talk on peace. Over to you, ma'am. Dinisha, ma'am, are you there? It seems she hasn't joined yet. Okay. Moving forward, Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research welcomes the next speaker of today's session, who is an educationist from Greece, Georgia Maneta. Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research welcomes you. Over to you. Please share your insights.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, please.
All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Georgia Maneta from Greece. First of all, I would like to thank CWSIR and especially Dr. Abhishek Pandey for giving me the opportunity to be here among so many scholars, educators, and believers in peace. So let me start with what peace means. It's P for prosperity, E for equity, A for advancement, C for collaboration, and E for education. Without peace, none of these are achievable or even observable in a society. So today around the globe, there are still conflicts, wars, miserable people, dead people. They may not affect us in our everyday life. We may not even see them because they're far away, especially from Greece. But they are there to remind us that peace should never be taken for granted, that peace is something that should be worked for. 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege to attend a 3-day workshop on peace organized by the Global Peace Institute. I finally became a certified global peace educator. Am I proud? Yes, of course. But I'm also burdened with the realization once more that peace is a seed that should be planted and taken care of in the laps of a kid's primary and secondary families, biological family and school. Educators are to be found at the forefront. This is why we are called educators and not teachers. We don't only teach our students, we educate them. We mold their character, their personality. We enhance their critical thinking. Educators, peace starts with us. Try to instill in your students' hearts and minds on every occasion, in any possible way, peace. Take part in intercultural projects, which is a great opportunity to meet peers and realize that there are no differences among them. Celebrate with them international days. Why? It is not a way to miss a lesson. It is a way to get valuable knowledge. Quoting from the United Nations website, international days are occasions to educate the general public on issues of concern, to mobilize political will and resources to address global problems, and to celebrate and reinforce achievements of humanity. So, celebrate with them International Peace Day, Mother Tongue Day, Children's Day, and show to them that no one is inferior or superior. Our differences make our world colorful. We are all humans with the same feelings, the same anxieties, the same needs and rights. Above all, help your students find their inner peace. Let them realize that only peace and serenity will aid them towards improving themselves and their life with others. We, educators, are the key to a peaceful world. We have a lot of work ahead, but it is definitely worth the effort. Our children, and by children I mean biological children and our students, deserve a peaceful world to live in. Thank you.
Rightly said. Ma'am Georgia, peace shouldn't be words for. And definitely, it's a seed to be sowed and nurtured further. Well, peace education for peace is the key to building a peaceful culture, and that is to be inbuilt in each and every children, in each and every student all over the globe. Thank you so much. Next, we are delighted to welcome our next speaker, Marcus Plapper, who is a renowned actor, film producer, and a film director as well from London, UK. Warm welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
You're perfectly audible.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
You're perfectly audible. Marcus, you're perfectly audible. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'll jump straight in. Historically, the theatre was connected to the gods and was not at all a mundane activity, but each citizens of Athens, where dramatic art started, was required to attend, and in fact were paid to do so. The tragedy served as release in the catharsis for those warriors who had experienced horrors in the battlefield, for example. Shakespeare's work speaks about holding up a mirror to society and was doing so during a time when the regulation of theatre and society was rather harsh, making the spoken truth important, making audience flock to the globe, his own theatre. Compare this to today's society, where it seems often more interesting what untruths are being bandied about, where one's own personal opinion is more important than the real issues, where untruth seems to have a stronghold. In my life, my own coaching method combats this way of thinking per se. For example, now, all good performance resolves conflict and therefore relates immediately to the lived life. We're all here to resolve conflicts, to reach what? The subject of this conference, peace. In short, if it's not to do with making the world a better, more peaceful, don't do it. And if it does, do it. Yet most people want to be led, not lead. So the more important it is for a leader to lead well, to know how to speak truth and how to get things done to achieve peace. It should never be expected that we are finished in resolving anything at this stage, as we are still, for the bigger part, a general humanity that is more involved in the feeling part of private and public events. It seems increasingly important that truth is carefully taken care of so as to not disband with common sense altogether, thereby risking a lesser and less peaceful world. Yes, common sense breeds a better world. Yet without the objective, the vision, it doesn't, as we clearly can see the result of during the past few decades even. It is not only reason that wins elections, yet go without one would not last. And it is important that reason and vision are behind it all, thereby pulling humanity into the future, creating, in short, a more exciting one. In performance, as seen as in real life, has an objective, ideally. The path of obstacles then lead to harmony, but only through this particular Ariadne thread of conflict. And the only way to get out to the other side is to act, to do. Nothing else will do. Thinking only will not do it. Having a wonderful idea will not do it. Talking will also not do it. And being on his own will certainly not do it either. The only way to do in a doing world is to do, and to do good, and keep doing good, all of us who can, or there will be no peace at all. What film or performance can do is to not just provide entertainment, but a small nudge towards something better. A lot of small steps work very well. Of course, large ones do too, but we have to take them. Through a drama or comedy, we can see that the conflict is established and resolved in a satisfying way. And within that satisfaction lies the key. Ideally, we ought never to be satisfied until we do reach peace. Nothing else but peace, yes, nothing else but peace ought to satisfy us. So to finish, there's nothing wrong with setting out practical goals and to get prepared to approach the opposition, for example, in order to resolve conflicts. For sooner or later, it needs doing anyway. And delaying is suffering, and I do think we have seen enough of that. I aim to reach my goals through encouraging changes through the arts, but also through the idea and goal of providing completely free education to everybody on the planet who wants it and needs it. Yes, challenges are there, but so what? Let them be there. I believe we shall meet them. We have to, and so we rise. But first, we have to rise to the task. To recoin a phrase by the bard, to do or not to do is the question. Thank you for accepting me as keynote speaker today.
Wonderful, wonderful. The beauty is that how the society is and that is going to be painted through literature from various genres. Very well said, that peace is to ensure that children from every very early age receive educational benefits and they can resolve any dispute peacefully with respect for human dignity and tolerance. Very well said. Thank you so much. Moving ahead, we welcome our next speaker, Anders Justland. He is an associate professor from Denmark.
Thank you very much for
Welcome.
having me, and thank you very much for hosting this very important event. I'm speaking to all of you from my holiday cottage here in Denmark, and currently we are in a fully lockdown. So you can say that I'm in my most peaceful place right now. However, there's also something that I'm missing, and that's the togetherness. And that's one of the things which are very, very important when it comes to a stable life and a peaceful life and a peaceful living of an international society. I am an associate professor from University College of Northern Denmark, one of the happiest and peaceful countries in the world. But the things that we are seeing now is that where we might in solitude have found inner peace, I also think that we are finding desperation and a hunger for a social life again. The reason why I'm saying that is that I come from the world of hospitality and tourism. My trade is to educate and research of how people can be together, how the host and the guest relationship is and develop, and how we together develop each other in a private, social, and commercial context. When we talk about mindedness, of course, the private and the social spheres are very important. So why am I mentioning the commercial aspect? I think commercial activities are important when it comes to peace in relation to the interlinkedness and the interaction that we have across the world, across countries, across different religions, and across different people and markets. The more we trade with each other, the more stable the world is. And what we're seeing right now with less global trade, we are seeing, I'm coming from an industry that are suffering at the moment. You see empty hotels, you see empty flights, you see grounded flights, you see empty beaches where there should have been a lot of people there. You see less interaction between the human being. And in that sense, we also see less hospitality. I tend to travel maybe 100 and 180 days a year in my position. And right now, I'm still lucky that I can do the same, but virtually from my own home. But let me try to sort of put some words to the different spheres that we have, or platforms, as you may call them, within hospitality, and why that is linked with a peaceful global society. First of all, when we look at the private part of hospitality, or the private perspective, it's about being in a host-guest relationship. We are in a peaceful and happy and social mindedness when we invite guests into our home. We take on specific roles. And right now I'm happy that I'm just after Mark, who talked about taking different roles in a play. So thank you very much for that setup, Mark, and thank you very much for the words that you shared with us. But it is within sort of the interaction between host and guest where we actually get a lot of our psychological needs fulfilled. Of course, as a host, we are setting up a fantastic micro environment and atmosphere for our guests. We serve them a cup of tea, we serve them something to eat, we share a laugh, and we share a good conversation, we learn more about each other and we find sort of a peaceful mindset together. Of course, we also, in that sense, with being physical together, are fulfilling a lot of physiological needs at the same time. And of course, if we take that guest perspective, you're sitting down, you are enjoying the hospitality and hospitableness of your host who is taking care of you within a certain amount of time. One of the things which we then take it up to a bit of a higher level is the social aspect. And one of the social aspects is I'm happy that we still have that, and that is the setting that we're in right now. Right now, we have 37 people gathered to talk about the same thing. Most of us have never met each other before, and we're talking across countries and across continents all over the world. So the social aspect links with dealing with strangers. It's about mutuality, and it's an aspect of status and prestige that we are allowed and luckily and honored enough to share our knowledge with each other. So again, we are fulfilling that perspective of hospitality. Last but not least, I mentioned the commercial aspect. And I think that is still important because with the ongoing trade, we also keep up the interactions in our social sphere and our private sphere. This is where we are getting to know new people. This is how we expand our networks. Through trade is where we expand and develop and maintain our good relations with new friends and new business partners across the world. And the more interaction we have, the more we get to know each other, the closer we become, and the better and larger perspective there is for a peaceful, stable, sustainable development globally. Those were my words from Denmark, and thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking very much forward to hear what the other people are having of inputs, and I'm looking very much forward to see the different perspectives and understanding of peace and the operationalization of peace as well, even though it is a very wide and broad term, which we in some way have a joint understanding of. There are still a wide variety of different uses and different ways to operationalize peace. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Salute to the hospitality of Denmark. And we were completely engrossed. And thanks for giving us a wonderful invitation that we all try to accept. Thank you so much. Well, peace is living in harmony in self. And when we are peace with self, definitely we can spread peace all over. Moving forward, we welcome Professor Gül Erkol Baran, who is a professor from Turkey. Most welcome, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Many thanks for your kind words.
Welcome, ma'am.
I'm so honored. Today, there are many valuable topics in this session, and I think one of them is also women. Women have voice, power to be agents of change. Women's agency, voice, and capacities, as well as a real gender perspective, are critical to local dialogues, better policies, and more equitable peace deals. We see it many countries in Libya, Yemen, South Africa, Colombia, and everywhere else in the world. Women are excluded from decision-making. Gender inequalities are neglected. Implementation of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda lags behind words on rhetoric. Too much is spent on arms and military security, and too little on gender inequality and women's meaningful participation. Sexual and gender-based violence is endemic, and rape in war is perpetrated. Women may often be victimized, but women also have voice and power to be agents of change, to be peace women. We have some problems as a woman for security and peace. One of them is absence of woman voice. Around the world, there is a consistent effect of gender expertise. Women are excluded from peace negotiations and decision-making. Excluding women from peace process, peace agreements, and post-conflict reconstruction efforts have several consequences. And because it prevents the realization of real and sustainable peace, it is not political correctness for women to participate. It is a common sense. The second problem is business as usual has failed. Women and gender analysis have the potential to transform their communities through promoting discernment, violence prevention and security, participation, protection, and human rights for themselves and their communities. We live in a world defined by inequality and conflicts. The third problem is big words, but not enough action. Implementation lags behind words. The key gaps in effective implementation of the women, peace, and security agenda include militarized investments and slighted women's peace and leadership. Strong focus on women as victims of conflict and absence of context-specific and gender analysis of each problems. The fourth is, the fourth problem is holistic agenda address violence and inequality. Sexual and gender-based violence is a part and parcel of gender inequality. On the other hand, gender inequality promotes violence. Violence also contributes to gender inequality. Gender inequality also is itself a form of violence and restricts the flourishing and capabilities of both women and some groups. Women, especially in conflict, continue to be stereotyped as inherently vulnerable victims. The ignorance, the agency, equality, and participation aspects of women, peace, and security agenda. There is another problem is impact of war on women. The system is broken when it comes to women, peace, and security. We live in a world which invests in and glorifies war. But the war system does not protect women from the violence. Instead, it makes violence worse. But we can make some solutions. And women, peace, and security issue is an innovative toolbox to leverage more equitable peace. The violence and wars in Rwanda, Bosnia, Northern Ireland, and Middle East and South Africa in the 90s show again the gender impacts and consequences of violence and war. To break the silence of the United Nations Security Council, women peacemakers demanded that women have their own voice. With the other women's rights and peace and advocates, peace women mobilized and led the way in pioneering the women, peace and security. What can we do? Don't be a bystander. Join the movement. Get involved, take action, and raise your voice. The more we work together, the bigger our collective impact. Mobilize and connect movements to build solidarity for women participation, protection, and rights across the conflict prevention spectrum. Lobby your governments to move the money from the war to peace by increasing its social spending and reducing its military spending. Push for implementation for this issue through local action plans, national action plans, and regional action plans that incorporate strong accountability mechanism, sustainable budget, strong discernment and provisions. support programs and advocacy efforts that urge donors to fund grassroots women's leaders and civil society groups. Strengthen partnership with the like-minded group and raise awareness about feminist peace. Use social media to share posts, advocacy tools, infographics, hashtags, and other resources that push the women, peace, and security. Investing in women participation and rights for peace is both important because women are part of humanity and also because it is critical to preventing violence and conflict and promoting peace. Here, we can make to do something now. The woman, peace and security has a transformative potential. It is a powerful tool for moving from exclusive to democratic decision-making, from gender inequality to gender justice, and from conflict and violence to sustainable peace. Agenda is now recognized internationally. To realize the transformative potential of women, peace, and security, it is time to move from verbal commitments to action. Governments, the United Nations, civil society, and private sector and other sectors must implement relevant commitments across all thematic areas. Ensuring a gender perspective and women participation, protection, and right is critical, including in prevention and disarmament, protection and displacement settings, peacekeeping, policymaking, and reconstruction. Action is critical to build a sustainable and peaceful world for all of us. Thanks for listening to me, and thanks for adding to this excellent program.
Thank you so much, Professor Gul, for such an enthusiastic performance, participation, and the words that the points you have touched is definitely going to give a new insight, a new target for all of us to create peace. Rightly said that women can be a wonderful agent for peacemaking and peacekeeping. Thank you so much. Moving next, we welcome our next speaker, Dr. Kavita Panjawani, who is an assistant professor, Jaeun University, Saudi Arabia. Dr. Kavita Panjawani. Can we have Kavita, Dr. Kavita Panjawani? It seems she isn't there. Anyways, moving ahead, we welcome our next speaker, who is a research scholar from Egypt, Ola Mahmoud. Can we have Ola Mahmoud to share the insight? She isn't there. Okay. Moving forward, we invite our next speaker, Famida Mohammed, who is a motivational speaker from Sri Lanka. Famida Mohammed from Sri Lanka. Okay. Moving forward, we invite our next speaker, Felix Jaeun who is an educationist from Korea. Felix Jaeun, okay. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Yeah. Hello. Thank you for giving me a chance to be a part of this wonderful summit. I'm very honored to be here, have time to talk to you with an universal value of humankind, peace. Yeah. Can I share my presentations?
Yes, definitely. So we are making you the co-host. Yeah.
Okay, let me share my thoughts on true peace. Okay, I'm from Korea and I'm a teacher. I'm working for Hanbit High School as head of the Department of Human Resources, Social Studies, and International Exchange Education. My name is Yang Jaeun. In Korea, surname is placed in the first part of the name, so Jaeun is my given name. Let me tell you the details of my name. Jae means Prime Minister, and the last part of my name is much more than this. The last syllable of my name, Un, means silver. So the meaning of my name, I would say, power and money. Do you like it? Yes, I like it very much because those are the good things for the people who wants to make the world better. Yes, they are. If people use power and money properly, our world will be the better place than now. However, you know, I have lived my life that is nothing to do with this power and money. And our world don't seem to be run properly by the people who own this power and money. Felix is my baptismal name, so I was born with the two names, Jaeun and Felix. Do you know the meaning of my baptismal name, Felix? Originally, Felix is originated from Latin. Felix means happiness. When I knew the meaning of my name, I thought I found the balance between my two names. So I put my baptismal name in the first part of my name. Then the balance seemed to be completed. Happiness should be followed by power and money. And more than that, I would like to suggest that we should replace the words power and money with pursuing desires and happiness with longing for peace. So the sentence will be like this. Longing for peace should be followed by pursuing desires. As we all know, Korea is divided into two different countries, South and North. As a teacher in charge of international exchange education in January in 2018, I took my students to an exchange school abroad in Britain. While we were in Britain with the British students, we visited the Korean war veterans and delivered our gratitude for their dedications and sacrifices. The veterans were so happy to have us. They seem to be very enjoyable to have the students who have grown in the area they protected from the enemy at the time. On behalf of my school in the city they protected, I asked the head teacher of the exchange school to visit Korea with his students. However, he wasn't able to reply me with a positive answer promptly. Instead, he asked me how safe Korea was. Actually, speak honestly, he asked me how dangerous Korea was. After a long conversation, he was convinced that Korea was no longer a country with a threat of war. He was convinced by the story that is based on the theory about the two scorpions in a bottle who are worrying about attacking from the other. Both of them knows that the result of the fight will be the death of both. Therefore, even though it is the peace that is not based on love, it can still prevent the war breaking out. Like this story, I think it seems that we are sometimes in the state of peace, like two scorpions in the bottle. The reason we don't attack each other is we worry about what hatred can bring about. It is still a good way to keep peace, but what I would like to say is we should try to pursue peace, looking for love and building up justice. By doing so, By building up justice and looking for love, we can reach to the goal, to the perfect peace. That is the aim of this summit, World Peace Summit. People call me an idealist. And yes, I am. I strongly believe that the optimist who dreams of the ideas have changed the world and make a better place to live in. If we all know well about the value of pursuing peace based on love and justice, many conflicts in current world will be solved out. I also know that if it is not easy for this world to be filled with idealists who dream an ideal world, but it is worthy to try. Longing for peace should be followed by pursuing desires. To keep what they have, pursuing their desire, they can make peace, but it won't last long enough. But longing for peace based on love and justice will make the world we dream come true, such as unification of Korea and true peace among the countries who share the border and the history. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope we will be in common with the value of true peace. Thank you very much.
Wonderful presentation. Wonderful. Now we invite our next speaker, Priscilla Carolia, who is a transformation coach from South Africa. Welcome, ma'am. Over to you. You're on mute, it seems. You are on mute, ma'am. Could you please unmute yourself?
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
I did unmute myself. Okay. Okay. Greetings to esteemed delegates. I am Priscilla Carolia from South Africa, a woman empowerment coach, and it gives me great pleasure to share with you women, peace, and security. Watinti abafazi, watinti mbokodo. This Zulu slogan means you strike the woman, you strike the rock. Women have been chanting the slogan since the March to the Union Buildings in 1956 in protest against oppression. Is a woman a rock? Does she not bleed, bruise, or hurt when physically abused? In extreme cases, even death occurs. In South Africa, a woman is murdered every 3 hours. South Africa's femicide rate is 5 times the global average. 1 out of 5 women is abused, and more than 50% of gender-based violence and femicide cases are not reported. And when they are reported, the perpetrators are protected. Gender-based violence is the second pandemic after COVID-19. It is the most widespread, persistent, and devastating human rights violation in South Africa. Since the lockdown, 27th of March 2020, the number of domestic abuse cases have more than doubled. More than 120,000 victims rang the National Helpline for Abused Women and Children in the first 3 weeks of the lockdown. And this was double the usual volume. The first week of the lockdown, 2,230 cases were reported. So that is why I am a woman empowerment coach. Okay. So what actually happened is that there were a number of killings of students in Cape Town. And the one was an incident of Uyini Mawelena, and she was raped and bludgeoned to death by a 42-year-old post office worker. And her body was dumped in Khayelitsha. And there was a feeling of fear, anger, paranoia, and frustration, which swelled into a mass protest across the country. So what did the people do? Women went through to the Union Buildings and they protested and they said, enough is enough. We need protection for women. So that's when the I Am Next movement went viral, okay? Because women were very scared. What has also happened since the COVID-19 started is that there's unemployment, and due to the unemployment, there's a lot of frustration of people being in their homes all the time. And that's why they had this increase of brutalities and mortalities, okay? So following that incident in 2018, November 2018, a gender-based summit was held, and our President Cyril Ramaphosa, made a commitment, and the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide National Strategic Plan was established. The summit was also instrumental in identifying key challenges women and children face with regards to safety, security, poverty, access to economic opportunities, and the contestation of patriarchy and chauvinism. With regard to the economic opportunities, there are South African women that are majorly disadvantaged according to the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act. So when South Africa became a democratic country, everybody was supposed to be equal according to President Mandela at the time. Nonetheless, colored, white, and Indian women are being disadvantaged by this act here. Okay, so there is an unfair distribution of employment opportunities, and that needs to be addressed, especially for women. Okay, the summit was concluded by signing a declaration, and that was endorsed by President Ramaphosa, to call to all South Africans, including the private sector, to respond to gender-based violence and to allocate resources required for the national strategy. So last year, in September 2020, the president announced that he will tighten law against gender-based violence. Okay, and therefore they started with the amendment of the Criminal Law Act of sexual offenses and related matters. In 2020, Police Minister Becky Cele told Parliament that as many as 139 police officers were convicted with gender-based violence in 13 police stations. Can there be hope for victims and survivors of gender-based violence when those hired to protect and serve them have become perpetrators? Despite this and other efforts, gender-based violence persists in South Africa, and activists say women and girls remain unsafe, with almost 50% of assaults being committed by someone close to them. Excuse me. So following the summit of 2018, President Cyril Ramaphosa launched the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund that was on the 4th of February this year. And it aimed at supporting the implementation of the National Strategic Plan. The president mentioned that South Africa holds the shameful distinction of being one of the most unsafe places in the world to be a woman. We have amongst the highest rate of intimate partner violence, and recently released data from Statistics South Africa showing that rape and sexual violence have become the hyper-endemic. Government has pledged money to the tune of 21 billion rand for this national strategic plan, and big businesses have also donated. 30 million rand was donated by Anglo American, 20 million rand by Absa Bank, 20 million rand by Ford, and some others. So the launch of the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund is a step towards curbing ruthless violent attacks and killing of South Africa. Government needs to make place of safety available for women and children. Information must be more accessible for women to know their rights. We need job creation to uplift the women of South Africa, to eliminate patriarchy. Last year, I lost a cousin of mine. So a few years ago, she married for the first time, and her husband took out a policy in her name, and he was going to be the beneficiary. He planned to kill her, and she escaped. Going on in her life, she was a doctor. She was a very successful doctor. And last year, she went by the bullet. It's time for women to be free in the socio-economic climate. The South Africa we want is a country where all citizens are able to lead their lives of dignity and freedom and are protected by our Constitution and Bill of Rights. With this said, South Africa's got a long way from eliminating the problem. Stricter laws need to be enforced. NGOs cannot be responsible for it alone to protect women's rights. People of South Africa need to be the eyes and the ears to identify the acts of abuse and guide victims to deal with it. So when children went to school, you could see that they were abused. Teachers would be able to protect them. And with the pandemic and the lockdown, a lot of that happened. And going forward, there's a lot of work to be done in terms of protection for women in South Africa. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, ma'am, for the sharing. Thank you, ma'am, for the sharing. Indeed, there is a lot of things to be done. And this summit will definitely create a framework. And that framework, we need to understand that what is the priority. We all have equal rights to live in dignity, with dignity and with pride. Moving to the next speaker, our next speaker is Jackson Dukka, who is the founder and president of Global Village Connection, Bhutan. Can we have you, sir? Jackson Dukka. It seems he isn't connected yet. Moving forward, we invite our next speaker, Professor Allah H. Al-Charak from University of Babylon, Iraq. Okay. Next, our speaker is Munir Monka Basuni Awad from Ministry of Science and Technology, China, CNPPRI. Can we have Munir Monka Basuni Awad? Our next speaker. Okay. Next we have Professor Claudia Maria Costa Dias from Catholic University of Euler, Spain. Can we have you, Professor?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome. Congratulations to the organization of the event, and especially to all the professionals who work for peace. I'm Claudia Costa, professor, social sciences. One of my concerns is the promotion of peace in the educational environment, especially with the participation of all the actors in the process, including in the family. So what we present today is part of a study about family involvement as one of the strategies to reduce violence and promote peace. The family is very important in the educational process and one of the best strategies for social change. Please, can I share my screen?
Yes, you can, please.
Thank you. Okay. This study, family participation as a pedagogical strategy in the treatment of school violence for peace. This study is analysis of the premise violence in the school context and its relationship with the family. How can the family contribute to minimize violence in the school? Research questions: what the family think about the issue of school violence. How do you define the participation of the family, especially in prevent school violence? Our goals: analyze the level of involvement of the family, unity the school with the intention of assessing the importance of this actor as a strategy in the treatment of violence in school, support the participation of the family unit in the context at school to minimize situations of violence and conflicts generated within the institutions involved. Meet the family involvement in school every day so you can engage their stakeholders as a pedagogical strategy in the improvement and control of violence at school. Analyze the household think about the subject so that from his knowledge and possible pedagogically conclusions. Recognize and alternative pedagogical strategies for the reduction or restrictions of violence in the school with the participation of the family. So you can active a health living space and the academic success of students. Some results indicate how often the family communicates with the school. Any of the meetings has discussed the issue of violence in the school. Any of the meetings. Do you know an strategy for prevent violence in school? The constructs that define violence at the school, the frequency of complaints. Violence is not indicative of the involvement of the family at the school. Some conclusions, the negatives are like a family involvement with the wishes and activities of the child in her school development. Conducting educational follow-up meetings to discuss the problems of living in the school. Thank you.
Very genuine point that you have raised, Claudia Costa.
Thank you.
These meetings definitely proves to be a boon in the family of the students. And I believe that all the teachers and all this institution, they try to reach the parents and definitely have some or the other solution to spread peace in the family and in the society too. Thank you so much. Moving forward, we welcome our next speaker, Dr. Faisal Shamli, who is a research associate and a teacher's trainer from Oman. Can we have Dr. Faisal Shamli? Okay. Next speaker, we welcome Dr. Marilyn Arna, CEO, Empowering Women Entrepreneur, Alberta, Canada.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure and greetings from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I will say good morning. It is very early here. It is a pleasure an honor to be with here you all. And my background is entrepreneurship, public speaking, and an advocate for women in business. Now, presently, we are technologically connected as ever before, and the speed in which we can share knowledge and generate knowledge is at its fastest ever in human history. However, we are also more divided and siloed as a global community than we have ever before in history as well. Globally, we can observe how polarized we are in our religious, political, organizational processes, and inflexibility in our growth mindset. Although this divisiveness is an issue and the global minority of the population is what is propagating the majority of major conflicts in a variety of spectrums, it is still causing major consequences in the lack of congruency we have as a human population. Therefore, I have focused on two elements in this grand issue, and that is world peace, and thank you so much for this summit. And two variables I would like us all to consider is entrepreneurship and diversity. The denotation of an entrepreneur is a person or organization who organizes and operates a business taking on greater than normal financial risk. Diversity now means the practice of quality, of including people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds or different genders and sexual orientations. Now, what is the importance of both of these variables, entrepreneurship and diversity, with world peace? It has been observed that if politically, socially, financially, even demographically, we are different, an increase of our intolerability as a global nation is very high, as many studies can show. Therefore, do you think it is important that we challenge traditional organizational process and mindsets? Do we need as ourselves, ask ourselves, how am I or my business propagating any divisiveness, standards, or thought processes? I say yes, and I think each of us are here in order to learn from each other, and opportunities like this, even in a pandemic, we can learn and increase our tolerability with any differences. We must analyze current belief and organizational systems that do not allow authentic diversity. Now, as I stated before, diversity is a spectrum of race, gender, and sexual orientation. But how about including a diverse set of skills and perspectives and experiences? Imagine if we could implement a double-blind human resource process to fill a need within a business or organization. Do you think our organization or business would benefit? The answer is yes. And let me give you an example. The San Francisco Symphony decided to implement a double-blind human resource pilot program. And through this process, they were able to set aside the panel's biases. And at the end of the double-blind interview process, the symphony increased the diversity of individuals onto their symphony team by increasing a variety of range of ages, in musicians, experiences of the musicians, and the gender by 43% by a single implementation of a new innovative process. Furthermore, the symphony realized there was an increase in culture values and performance synchronicity, concluding that by setting aside traditional human resource processes, one can increase genuine diversity authentically, which resulted in a stronger, more vibrant performance. Now, I wanted to mention that I recently read a study that there are more men named Michael, in the top 500 Fortune companies than there are women in those 500 companies. That is, 0.06% of women hold a CEO position out of the 500 companies. Do you think this is a problem? Now, before I answer that question, I wanted to address why I included entrepreneurship as a variable to be considered for world peace. As a serial entrepreneur for over 15 years, a public speaker and advocate for women in entrepreneurship, I can personally report that entrepreneurship allows creativity, challenges the mic makes right, and increases innovation. Therefore, if we allow ourselves to innovate daily, be entrepreneurial to not only increase and generate revenue, but also allow us to be creative in our daily lives within our business, organization, and in our homes. And then coupling this with diversity and challenging the traditional mic makes right and having an entrepreneurial mindset. My research has shown that we can close the gap in intolerability. And when we do that, we realize that we must have a dialogue, a form of meritocracy in which we can close the gap no matter where we are geographically, socially, politically, or religiously, because each of us have merit in our experiences and in our skills. And if we can increase in sharing those stories and skills and having the mindset of learning from each other, then maybe we can come closer together ideologically, and maybe in the near future, once this pandemic, we can get over it together, then also geographically. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that we can have a dialogue and learn from each other and increase the peace that each of us feels and observes every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Definitely. Through these virtual summits, conferences, and workshops, we have developed so many things, and this COVID-19 has taught us n number of lessons to our life. And if I could add on, performance is not somebody's cup of tea. In fact, it is everybody's cup of tea, provided we have great determination and passion to do something great in our life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ronil Pakulama, who is an educationist from Philippines. Can we have Ronil Pakulama from Philippines? No? Okay. Moving forward, we welcome our next speaker, Dr. Smriti Mary Gupta, who is again an educationist from UAE. Dr. Smriti Mary. Okay, she isn't here. Right. Moving forward, for the next speaker, Professor Lavixen Lundy, who is Dean Hetty from Hetty University. Professor Lavixen, can we have you? Okay, all right. We welcome our next speaker, Dr. Rita Jairath, who is an inspiration in herself, a renowned fitness expert from India. Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me along in this wonderful show amongst very, very learned and esteemed speakers. The topic itself is very beautiful and very relevant in today's world. There can be no greater testimony to the fact that there is a universality of being human and a part of this universe, that we have manifested ourselves in human form, than taking care of our health and fitness and being aware of it. Because the human body, irrespective of nationality, caste, creed, whatever, is actually just the same. The greatest benefit of being healthy and fit is that we can live our life to our fullest potential, and the human body is actually an instrument for us to manifest ourselves in this world. We are one and the same, all of us. And this is a beautiful platform today that we have people from various nationalities coming together and talking about world peace. In fact, in everything that we do, where we are realizing our potentials and living our life to the fullest, makes us even more aware of this thing. And by the time we have reached this stage of this conference, it may all sound like a cliche. But yes, indeed, when it comes to sports, when we have sporting events, in view of the pandemic, it may seem that sports is not necessary. But there is some element of it that when you are fit, you are an example of somebody who's maintained his health, fitness, his or her health and fitness, and has explored the potential of human body. And so there is no comorbidities involved, that you are taking the human body to the next level, and in fact unknowingly contributing to the evolution of mankind, mind, soul, and body. Similarly, when we have events, when it comes to arts, especially classical arts, where there is a lot of wisdom that we have imbibed from our ancestors, and very proudly, if I may say, the Indian heritage, which is very, very universal and has a lot of metaphysical aspect to it. When we are having exchange programs, we realize that even our art forms all over the world are one and the same. These events are the real platforms to promote world peace, because we, first of all, when we practice that, and it is kind of a meditation where we are so involved in ourselves that we find inner peace. And peace starts from within ourselves. When a person is at peace within his own soul, then there is no need to have that unrest outside you and then manifesting into the rest of the world. So when we in that sense, we have an opportunity to focus on oneness and the diversities and the differences that we have can actually complement each other and enrich us all. So I am a mother of a special child, and I have learned to understand and accept that everybody may not necessarily be exactly the same as we all want to be. We can be different, and we can still be united and see the best and bring out the best from each individual, and value that, and hence complementing each other and growing as human beings. I hope that these little conferences and these moments when we all get together will add to the collective consciousness in the universe, and we get more and more opportunities to reinforce the fact that we need peace by bringing out the best in ourselves, and hence setting examples for the society that of what is humanly possible. We all know that somewhere down the line we have a lot of potential, but we have not explored it. When we see examples who have excelled in life, we get an opportunity to understand human potential and conquer the initial inertia and get motivated and have faith in the ability of human beings. I thank you with all my heart for having me along. In a nutshell, I'm a bodybuilding athlete, the first woman bodybuilding athlete from India. I represented India in the world level, and I have a son who is now 33 years old. I wish to have a voice for mentally challenged adults. I work on that as much as possible. And I try to, whenever I have an opportunity, I wish to have a voice for talking about safety of mentally challenged adults. We have a lot for physically handicapped children and adults and mentally handicapped children. We have special schools, and most of them have even a commercial or a political agenda. But when a child grows up into a full-fledged adult and is mentally challenged, he cannot think for themselves. And when they don't have caretakers and parents, they don't have anybody to look after. So when when we promote human values, the world becomes safer and we have a more peaceful world. Not just for my own selfish interest, but having explored this aspect of humanity, I wish that we have a world that has greater peace and greater harmony, and we learn to love and respect each other. I'm an international bodybuilding judge, and the International Federation of Bodybuilding has promoted women's bodybuilding tremendously. I'm the first woman judge in Asia doing this work, and we initially women's bodybuilding was very freaky. People wouldn't relate to it, but now the federation has come up with divisions where the woman can bring the best in herself, and there are several divisions which are very feminine. And so we get to learn a lot about how we can take this sport forward and carry it with us for the rest of our lives, making ourselves strong so that we can serve our family and then hence eventually the society for the rest of our life, and explore life until the last day till we live. Once again, thank you very much for having me, and it has been a great learning experience to hear from every speaker, and I'm sure that I will go from here much more enriched and much more happier and much more peaceful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Rita, Jairat, you are an inspiration. And at the same time, the words, the ideas, and the kind of proposals that you have put forward, I believe that CWSIR is getting a lot of things as a target to accomplish in the coming future. Your statement that each and every individual is unique, truly said. And each and every individual has minds of talents. It's all about to explore the talent of an individual. Thank you so much. Moving forward, we have our next speaker, Jaeun Brugnera, who is a scholar from Brazil. Can we have Jaeun Brugnera? Okay. Next, we'll welcome our next speaker, Professor Ajit Kaushik, who is from Florida Polytechnic University, USA. Can we have Professor Ajit Kaushik on the... No? We welcome our next speaker, General Jahid Mubashir Sheikh, who is a retired general from Pakistan Army.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for including me in this elite, who are literate people, and we're talking of peace. Peace is something which is dear to everyone. I'm very grateful for being invited for this most important forum, for speaking on an important subject like peace. There are numerous aspects of peace: the peace within and peace without, the mental peace, the gender peace, peace between tribes and countries. Believe you me, each aspect of peace is beautiful, bright, and sparkling. Being a soldier, I would like to speak about the traditional peace, peace which is opposite of war and conflict. And believe me, no one wants to have peace more than a soldier. The reason is obvious. He is the one who faces the brunt of the war on the front. I'll be speaking to you on peace training. But before I come to the actual topic, let me share a saying from a great leader, Mahatma Gandhi. He said, an eye for an eye will only leave the whole world blind. You know how meaningful it is. These are the great leaders that we've had, who did not want conflict. Let me also share a saying from Nelson Mandela. He said, if you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your enemy. Then he becomes your partner. So that is the key to achieve peace. Talking to your enemy, making your enemy your partner. And let me lay down the foundation of my topic, the training. Again, from a saying from Mahatma Gandhi. The day the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will be peaceful. Now, how can we do that? Now, it has to start, it has to be woven in our society, in the complete fabric of our society. Right from the childhood, the child has to be taught that it is not you and us, it is we. We have to move together. We have to share. We have to be sharing things. We don't have to be grabbing things. We have to teach our generations the power of love. In our homes, in our schools, in our education system, in our markets, in our media, in our cinema houses, in our dramas, in our literature. We have to teach our children from day one that we are all equal. There are no superiors and inferiors. May it be religion, caste, gender, nationality, color, or creed. Start out by stamping out exclusion. You cannot exclude people. We must not bleed them and us. Concept of spreading hate should be avoided. True equality between men and women. Share wealth fairly between the states and within and in the world. Not that, even for the vaccine, the poor countries have to wait and the rich countries can even, have it twice. Then you have to tackle climate change, grabbing of resources like land and water. We don't have to grab, we have to share. This is a major source of conflict. We need to teach our children sharing and caring, the concept of sharing rather than grabbing. Protect political space for everyone. Build an integrated peace movement. Our children also need to be taught the costs of war. The war only brings destruction and devastation. It has no advantages. We have seen Hiroshima, we have seen Nagasaki, we have seen wars between Pakistan and India. We've seen wars all over the world. And nowhere we have seen that war has brought prosperity. The world wars. Thousands, millions, and billions of people died. And what is the output? Absolutely nothing. In view of our scientific advancement, the adversaries have the capabilities to completely destroy each other many times over. Now, any one of us wants that? I'm sure nobody wants that. So why not that we should have a concept of peace? We should have a concept of sharing. We should support each other. We should trade with each other. We should try to increase each other's wealth rather than grabbing wealth from each other. This is a vast topic and one can go on and go on. But let me again end on the saying of the same saying of Mahatma Gandhi that I started with. An eye for an eye can only make the whole world blind. So let us look after each other and let us bring peace to this world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Who would know better than the soldiers the importance of peace, the real definition of peace? Salute to the soldiers across the globe. Thank you so much, sir.
General Saab is always great in all the domain. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Moving ahead, we have our next speaker, Efi Batsvina, who is a music expert from Greece. No? Okay. Now I would welcome the next speaker, Professor Akim B. Ogunsakin, who is a professor from Nigeria. Professor Akim, are you there? He has just joined. Is there in the, yeah. There, he's entering the room. He's just joining. Let us wait. Yeah. Professor Akim B. Ogunsakin, who is a professor from Nigeria. Can we have you, sir? There? Am I audible? Professor Akim, he has entered the meeting. Maybe some network issue. We'll call in a bit. Moving forward, we have our next speaker, Dr. Andi Ashrafan, who is an educator from Indonesia.
Good evening, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Let me.
Yeah.
Hello.
How are you?
Kim is there.
Professor Akin is there. He's there.
Yeah. Dr. Andi can speak after Professor Akim. Sorry.
Yes, no problem. No problem. No problem. No problem.
Hello.
Yes, you're audible, Professor Akim. We welcome you. COVID-19 has definitely taught us how to be friendly with a network. Yes, Professor? Am I audible? It seems there is some network issue at his end.
Dr. Andy S. Refund should be called. Just, I think he will be facing some problem from Nigeria.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I humbly request Dr. Andy Ashrafan from Indonesia.
Thank you. Let me share my screen there.
Please make the co-host.
Is it visible?
Yeah. Yes.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone from Indonesia. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, and thank you so much for all the committee from CWSIR for this wonderful invitation today. So today I'm going to share one of the component in the unique one that every human being has. That's called multiple intelligence. That's why hopefully in 5 to 7 minutes forward, I can share you how important this component for our, especially for the successful career in our school. These are the problem that I think every educator found when they teach online and offline. This problem, based on some research, comes from the teacher material, strategy, technique, and most of them sometimes are found because all the material or strategy or technique doesn't touch their expectation or the way of their learning. They don't know every student way of learning, and then also they don't observe first before starting their class their intelligence. So that's why before we start, there are some consideration in designing effective teaching material for our classroom. One of the important part is we have to know what are the learner that we will serve our material. In the learner, there are some components here. They are need analysis, target needs, and the learning needs. And then we have to know the knowledge about the learner. Here we underline, we highlight this one because knowledge about the learner is how we know the student potential in our classroom, their experience, first language level, literacy, aspiration, interest, and purpose. And beside that, we have to consider also the curriculum and the context, the resource and the facility, personal confidence and competence, copyright, competence, and the time. Why multiple intelligence theory? This theory comes from the Gardner in 1983, where he proposed that there are 7 actually in the first, but in early of 2000, he added one multiple intelligence named naturalistic. So they are developed to a different degree, and then they are potential capability that everyone can activate by doing a variety of activity. The level of their development depends on the chance available in the specific culture or the decision taken by the people, their family and teacher. And also this one is unique. So it's not only about the logical and linguistic comprehension which you usually test at school. And then our task here, how to develop each intelligence to make our student learning easy and more enjoyable and love our classroom. So that's why we have to know first every student potential, because they are unique. No nobody, no or no student are poor, but they are unique. So that's why this is our task as a teacher. So here the multiple intelligence and the potential. The first one is linguistic intelligence. That's the part of the Horkheimer theory that deal with sensitivity to the spoken and written language, ability to learn languages, and the capacity to use language to accomplish a certain goal. Here's some potential career, because I think we can observe our student, for example, Mr. A, he's strong in reading, writing, telling story, memorizing, they thinking word, and then they love to read, write, tell a story through in social media and so on. So we can suggest them to some possible career, to be a teacher, historian, librarian, reporter, lawyer, and so on. So, and next one is logical or mathematical intelligence. That's refers to the capacity to analyze problem logically, carry out the mathematical operation, and investigate issue scientifically. So the potential career here, for example, to be accountant, analyze, investment broker, lawyer, and programmer, I think. And then the picture smart or spatial intelligence is a feature, the potential to recognize and manipulate the pattern of white space, as well as a pattern of more confined area, such as those of important sculpture, surgeon, chess player, graphic artist, and architect. And then next one is body smart or kinesthetic. That's a potential of using whole body or parts like gym to solve the problem or to fashion the product. And then the next one is the music smart. That's refers to skill in the performance, composing, and appreciation of music pattern. And some potential career in this area. We can suggest our or lead our student to be a conductor, composer, music teacher, recording technician, music performance, and still many other, I think. And then interpersonal intelligence or people smart. That's the capacity to understand the intention, motivation, and desire of the other people, and sequentially to work effectively with others. Here, some the possible career, for example, teacher, travel agent, child care worker, coach, manager, public relation. And the last one is self-smart or intrapersonal. That's the capacity to understand oneself, to have an effective working model of oneself, including own desire, fear, and the capacity, and to use such information effectively in regulating one's own life. Some possible career here, we can suggest them to be entrepreneur, consultant, counselor, psychologist, researchers, writer, and trainer. And the last is a naturalist or nature smart. This is the in full expertise in the recognition and classification of the numerous species, the flora and the fauna of their environment. And exactly they're strong in understanding nature, categorizing and identify the flora and fauna. And then some possible career here, if we observe maybe our student exactly in the university or in the last year of senior high school, we can suggest them to choose the department that can support their intelligence, sharpen their career to be a botanist, chef, a landscape artist, navigator, sailor, and still many other. Thank you so much for this wonderful invitation and sharing today. And good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, you have done a wonderful survey, and the kind of rubrics and the portfolio that you have showcased is, I can say that is a great tool for a teacher to identify the real potential of a child. That is
Thank you.
to help us in the longer run. Moving forward, I would most humbly request Professor Akim Bey Ogunsakin, who is a professor from Nigeria. So can we have you? Professor Akim is there in the meeting? Professor Akim, can you hear us? Asked to unmute. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute the button. If you're able to listen, sir, could you please unmute the button so that we can hear you? There is some problem at his end, it seems. Yeah. Welcome, Professor Akim. Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Please start.
Actually, he's facing a lot of technical problems, so I think he'll not be able to perform his talk.
Okay, fine, sir. We can call him afterwards. Now we have our next speaker in queue, Dr. Ghosh Baksh, who is an associate professor. Can we have Dr. Ghosh Baksh, associate professor from Pakistan? Okay. Now, we warmly welcome our next speaker, Professor Arceloni Naza Wolpato. Can we have Professor Arceloni? No?
Yes, he's there.
She's there? Please. Could you please open the video so that we can connect with you? Professor Arceloni?
She's connected there. I don't know why she's not.
Yeah, she's there, and it seems from video, and also she isn't connected, and she cannot hear us. She's there. Welcome,
Actually,
Arceloni.
Professor Arsloni, thank you very much for being connected. Actually, she is already hospitalized. I don't know whether she is suffering from corona or what.
Sorry, I'm here.
Most welcome, most welcome. How's your health?
Yeah. No sound? Is that possible?
You're audible, madam.
You're audible.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Wow. It is my presentation, right?
True that.
Sorry. Well, I appreciate too much the invitation to talk at the Summit of Peace. It is really so important to the world. And it is a very serious, maybe the most serious we have, in fact. Let's talk about peace and harmony in nature. A fact that drew the attention of archaeologists in Europe was the first sedentary settlements of the European Neolithic were not surrounded by walls, They are a few of 1,000 inhabitants, and the settlements were built on the backs of rivers or not on the top of the mountains, as a defense against enemy attacks. This means that there were no attacks, no enemies at that time, at the Neolithic time, no fear of any tragedy. Life went on peace and nature was integrated. There was no sign of war for the century. Crete, for example, is more than 6,000 years of peace. Groups that are dominated metallurgy did not use it to make weapons. In the colorful drawings made the objects, stones and statues, archaeologists found no reason to refer to the scenes of battles, any tragedy, armed conflicts and violence. In short, it was a very different life from the one that we lead in our tumultuous world full of personal, professional, and political conflict. This peace found in the archaeological sites where European prehistory was investigated, from Paleolithic to the Bronze Age, and the sites themselves showed that there was a time when human beings lived in peace. The land belonged to everyone, and each contributed to the group survival. And how important would that be for life, for the daily lives? Many, so many. We get used to the idea, transmitted by our parents and grandparents, by religion, by social circle, and by several books, that the human being is selfish, vindictive, and that he loves a fight, a struggle. It's not true. In order to obtain power and money, we do not do that. It is not part of our daily life. When can I agree that some things are not exactly like this, the bustle for fight, that the human being was of these feelings, but also has disinterested solidarity, generosity, affection, friendly, and love. This always comes to spoils with a defined counter-argument, wrong. Look at the history of the world. As there are also wars. Then we spoke with honorable session, Jesus, Gandhi, all the powerful people, personal, unpredictable, full of love people, the saints, and the followers, and there comes the same spoils of pleasure. Jesus was punished. Some people were punished, and we had a long time to do that, but that is what is really interested. Human history told us this way, the history of love, harmony. These discoveries of Marija Gimbuta's an archaeology decades demonstrated that we are deceived. The history was not always like this, the war history. That this mistake was due to the lack of knowledge that, until the beginning of the second half of the 20th century, scholars had the prehistory. That changed when, in the 1960s, the American scientist Frank Lieb created the carbon-14. Before Lieb and the carbon-14, archaeologists are not always able to identify the period the pieces they were found were and where they had. A lot of work has cataloged them. The carbon-14 method facilitated this work, although with the results were not entirely accurate, not yet. The method is at least able to determine in that center archaeological objects were landed, underground or in caves. Marija, the archaeologist, used carbon-14. All the pieces she and her team found were they many. The archaeologist says that she found more than 500 archaeological objects from the Paleolithic, Neolithic, and the Bronze era. These objects, as well as the observation of the ruins of the prehistoric times and the villages, also showed that at that time there was no hierarchical organization of social castes. The houses were practically the same, like the tombs. There was no beauties or no more refined graves than others. And this indicated that equally between people, as well between women and men, prevailed. In this calm and equal environment of ancient architecture, art flourished. In prehistory, for example, there were already spilled houses. Some scholars can call this living of a culture of celebrating life. Marija Gimbuta, the archaeologist that I used found the basis of this talk, gave the name of the Old Europe at that time. Well, since we had the period of discoveries, we had the Jean-Jacques Rousseau told the human, the individuals, the human being is the savage for nature, for counterparture. We need the myth of the good savage. Also, in the period that discovers the New World in Brazil, what we had a period of wars and peace. What we need to work for is harmony and peace. And for sure, it's through education that we find that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Arceloni. Once upon a time, human being used to have peace. This line is very painful. We need to understand and we need to do something good so that peace, prosperity, and love for each other, love for mankind can establish. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving forward, we have our next speaker, Bibas J. Thapa, who is an educator from Nepal. From there. Okay. Then we have our next speaker, Adriana Brule, who is a visiting professor from Romania. We welcome Adriana Brule, who is a visiting professor from Romania. Okay. We warmly welcome our next speaker, Farah Rustam, who is an academician from Lebanon. Welcome. Over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to all audience from all over the world. Can I share my screen, please?
Sure, sure.
Sorry. Okay, fine. Welcome to World Peace Summit 2021. I'm audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Welcome everyone to World Peace Summit 2021. My name is Farah Rustam, academician from Lebanon. For today, the theme is peace education. Let's have a look at the agenda, which is a brief agenda for today. As you can see here, we will start with what is peace. I will move to what is peace education, and we're going to see what's the relationship between peace and peace education. I will talk about key themes of peace education programs. Then I will move and focus and highlight on peace education programs and conflicts. We will see peace education programs and non-violent approach, then the importance of peace education programs, and I will share a few resources for your kind review. So let's start together with a peace quote for Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said, if we want to reach real peace in this world, we should start educating children. So education is the path for real peace. So let's see together, what do I mean by peace? What's your understanding of peace? As we can see here, most people, they know that peace is equal to absence of war. And this is the general understanding of peace. But nowadays and recently, United Nations, they have exerted a great effort to achieve the common vision of life, of a life of dignity and well-being for all. So peace is a holistic vision of a life of dignity and well-being for all. Moving to what is peace education now. Peace education is the process of acquiring values and knowledge. It is the process of developing attitudes, skills, and behaviors. Why? Because all this will lead a human to live in harmony with oneself, with others, and with the natural environment as a whole. So now we know what is peace and what is peace education. Is there any relationship between peace and peace education? Definitely yes. Peace education can lead to peace and be a part of building back better by looking at this chain, you can see that peace education can support the transformation of security situation, political institutions, if you can see it here, and we can move there down, back to social development. So this whole chain, we can see that through this chain, peace education can lead to peace. So now we know what is peace education, and the relationship between peace and peace education. Let's have a look about the key themes of peace education programs. As we can see here, we have a list of key themes, but for today, I will just include a few ones, and I will highlight specifically on conflict resolution techniques. So let's have some examples such as international understanding, environmental responsibility, communication skills, non-violence, conflict resolution techniques, democracy, and others. So for today, I want to highlight on peace education and how it can address conflict resolution in schools. Peace education programs can prevent the emergence of conflicts between students. Peace education programs can avoid conflicts in classrooms. Peace education programs can promote conflict resolution through various activities in schools. So peace education programs can play a vital role to address conflict resolution in schools between students, avoiding conflicts in classrooms, and in as a whole in classrooms. So accordingly, we can say that peace education programs can develop non-violent approach. How it plays this role, peace education, how these programs can address conflict and conflict resolution. These programs can address this conflict resolution by teaching students how to take creative approaches to the conflict, can teach students how to find different techniques for the conflict resolution. Thus, by teaching students these approaches and techniques, students can gain knowledge and skills that develop competence for a non-violent approach to future conflict situations. So, do we really need peace education programs in schools? Yes, it's very, very important to have peace education programs in schools. Why? Because peace education programs in schools help students acquire skills for non-violent conflict resolution. They help to reinforce these skills for active and responsible action in the society for promotion of the values of peace. Moreover, these programs encourage personal growth and development of students. More and more, peace education programs in schools contribute to self-esteem, respect, and respect of others. Accordingly, here are few recommendations to implement peace education programs in schools. Creating curriculum content of peace education, for example, integrating modules of inclusion, of peace education in the school curriculum, follow new strategies for teaching peace education, include various activities to take place in schools, and having some after school programs or summer peace education programs. And here are a few resources I would like to share with you. Hopefully you will have time to check once it is possible. Thank you so much, and thank you for this nice invitation with amazing group and wonderful and distinguished professionals from all over the world.
Thank you so much. A very beautiful performance and the points that you have touched. Wonderful. So the conflict resolution technique is very, very mandate to establish peace among students. And definitely students are the messenger. What we teach, this spread to the society, to the nation, and to the globe or the world at large. Thank you so much. Moving forward, we have our next speaker, Dither Baldras from Cipher Learning, Mexico. Can we have?
Mr. Dither is there. Mr. Dither is there.
That's what I'm searching. Mr. Dither. Could you please unmute yourself? Please open the video as well. Could you please open the video so that we can put you on spotlight? Professor Aki, okay. So maybe we are not able to connect, or maybe he is not able to listen to us.
I think he's getting problem to be connected.
Yeah, exactly. So can we proceed with Professor Akim? I think he's able to connect with us now. We welcome Professor Akim B. Ogunsakin, who is a professor from Nigeria.
Yeah, good afternoon.
The bandwidth of the network is very poor.
Very low, yeah.
Can you hear me clearly over there? Hello?
Yeah.
You're audible.
Please, go ahead. Please go ahead. We are able to hear you.
Delegate from throughout the world, ambassador for peace, respected colleagues, I consider it as one of the key speakers on behalf of society for innovation and research, Dr. Smita Tiwari and Dr. Abhishek Pandey. It is my honor and privilege to address today at the World Peace Summit 2021. The focus of this summit is meant for those who love to be at peace, desire peace, and to care spread peace across the globe at a time when division, violence, and attack has increasingly making international headlines as peace by magic. Peace is a gift of mankind to each other. It's those who give peace that have peace. Peace is a two-way street. To receive peace, we have to give peace. This organization is working for peace and make it a practical priority. This summit is a new vision for peace in the 21st century. This 2021 series is an essential part of the mission and work of this organization of building a world, religious, spirituality, and culture.
It seems bandwidth is very, very low. Okay.
So should reflect on the content.
Okay.
His bandwidth is not very good and he's not audible at all.
Okay, okay. But I
Let
must
us move ahead.
appreciate, I must appreciate he tried 4 times. Anyways, thank you so much, sir. Now, may I take the privilege to call Dr. Fadman from Maldives to share his insight.
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Audible? Yeah.
You are audible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Let me share my screen first. Is my screen, or can see it now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Warm greetings to all the participants who are in this summit. And before starting this presentation or speech, I would like to thank you, Charles Ward Society for Innovation and Research, for creating this great platform. And also my special thanks to President Dr. Abhishek Pandey and Dr. Albash for giving me this opportunity. Well, we are talking about peace, and here I'll be talking how human resource management and women in peace building, how how human resource and women build peace. Human resource management that indicates human well-being and sustainable approaches in peace building. Previous research has shown that women participation contributes peace negotiation and increase sustainable peace drastically in decision-making level. According to Georgetown Institute for Women Peace and Security 2020 research report says that they are more focusing on important roles that women plays in preventing conflicts and growing economics. This report also highlighted that a lot of works need to be done for gender equality or state level. And the sad thing is, though our populations are women, high in women, only few women are holding governing positions or the parliament positions. Therefore, government needs to support and develop the framework of paradigm for capacity building in women and gender equality and their representations in decision-making level. The good governance and leadership, gender should have equal roles of job opportunities involving level wages. Government and other independent organizations at national level should have correct recruitment and selection practices, adhere to the implementing government policies and regulations as well. Roles of HRM in peace building. Over the years, human resource management became biased, selecting potential candidates that would lead to conflict. But there has been a recent improvement of peace building in HRM. It is also important to note that the social sector, human resource allocations has been biased with allied interests. There are other close related transparency issues concerning government employment. So, in the government and other corporate organizations able to manage human resource properly with less corruptions and the transparency, conflict that could minimize and able to tackle poverty. If not governance and armed poor performance in the economic and social development. So that is very obvious thing. When women run more things, HRM and business of all the field, they were treated more equal to their male counterparts. So they can safely live a decent life with no violence, less of stress, and definitely less fear of equality. Nation stands for how government policies, regulations that are linked to HRM and women in peace building. According to Georgetown Institute for Women, Peace and Security 2020 report says women's employment in Maldives in the year 2019 was 40.7%, and the women share their parliament seat of positions 4.7% Maldives. This is compared to the other Asian group, very low percentage. So when recruiting or electing the employees, employer need to ensure that graduate recruitments do not indirectly discriminate against older workers or the women. Also, regional differences of discriminating women that should be avoided when hiring or electing women or employees. Then definitely it will sustain the peace building in the community. Past literature also says that in UK, 56% of the disability people are economically active, and public sector required to comply disability equality into practice when recruiting and retaining employees. This is the research gap that we need to study in Maldives context. So we should have gender balance, cultural difference between organizations, sex and regional discriminations. These things should be balanced when we manage human resource in women peace building. Human resource allocation in peace building, gender balance. These are the areas that we need to focus on. Gender balance, equal opportunities for employment, and discrimination, disability people, aged people, workplaces, there shouldn't be any discrimination. Equal pay should be provided to all. Stereotype and prototype judgment in employment must be avoided so that we can create peace. Sexual harassment, victimization, this is the most focused area that we need to focus actually nowadays. HRM peace building and gender equality. When hiring employees, employers should use hiring strategies in order to avoid racial bias and offer equal opportunities to the citizen. When screening candidates, employers should use hiring strategies, techniques, correct tools and methods to select potential employees without being biased. By providing equal opportunities, it will definitely build peace. Gender research says that more transparency and accountability in academic recruitment and selection could overcome inequality. So according to Merrick 2010, more transparency, accountability in academic recruitment and selection will overcome inequality discriminations of women. So, however, women is the meaningful participation that will increase the likelihood in reconciliations of peace within society. So this is something that we have to focus on. Gender equality, we need to focus in national level or the state level. So since I have got only 5 minutes to talk, I have precised very, in a way that I could fix it into the 5 minutes. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a real wonderful presentation. Lot of things to do, lot of things to do research on. And I believe that CWSIR will definitely get prepared to welcome all the research papers that we have been trying to. Now, moving forward, I would request Dr. Kunal Anand, an educationist, Secretary Meet X, CWSIR from India. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi Tripathi ma'am, and thank you CWSIR. A big thanks to Mr. Pandey, Dr. Abhishek Pandey, for organizing such an event where not just people from one country, but across the globe are connected. I was listening to various conversations, presentations about world peace and world education, and education as a part of world peace. What I would say, this is a kind of a run we are all running for, a marathon I would like to put it as, because the peace itself is the need of the hour, and especially after this pandemic which has struck the globe in the early 2019, 2020, and with the passing of this 1 year, we all are at such a junction of our professional and personal life that the peace becomes even more important for all of us. These 3-day summit which is going on, hats off to Dr. Abhishek and team CWSIR for making this event actually happen, and people connecting with each other, coming out with their suggestions, coming out with their brush with their realities. And then why it becomes more important when you're interacting with so many people, you tend to understand that I am not the only one who's looking for this peace. It is everybody who's looking forward for. So once again, I congratulate the team CWSIR, Dr. Abhishek Pandey and Dr. Ravi Tripathi for today's amazingly articulated program. If given a chance to me for 2 minutes, I would just say, long back I was reading that in 500 BC, there was a very famous saying which came out that pointed out to education breeds confidence, confidence breeds hope, and hope breeds peace. So it wasn't that we are discovering this thing now. It was discovered way back by Cunufison in 500 BC. So I was just going through this thing. This is basically a research by Central Asian Institute where I read this thing, and I found it so relevant that if actually education is the tool which can actually build confidence, if you are truly educated, if you are fairly educated, it becomes much more easier for you to have hope. When you have hope, you can build your peace on that. What does peace requires from me? It requires that I should have a hope for things to get better tomorrow. We all had hope that we will fight COVID-19 and come out as COVID warriors, and especially educators. Hats off to you, everyone sitting across here and listening to us through various social medias. Educators, you had seen that hope that this will go to an end, it will come to an end, and that hope build that confidence in other affairs, and that confidence today is reaping fruits where we are getting out of this COVID-19 situation, and automatically the peace is coming back to us. So education really brings hope, and hope brings peace. So if somebody asks me my take on this, the world is not an easy place to live in. The world is not it's a roller coaster. It is not a cakewalk. It is a situation which is full of thorns, and on that thorns, the beautiful rose blossoms. So if you have that in your mind, you can bring that peace. You can bring that peace to yourself. When you bring it to yourself, you can, multiply it with your family, multiply it with your colleagues, multiply it with your students, multiply it with your parents, and just see one hope from your end can affect so many multiple lives. So never lose hope, and let's all pray to the Almighty that this thing should get over soon and we have a normal life. But peace is from within. Look into yourself, see what motivates you, see what rejuvenates you, see what recalls you, and say, okay, no, I am back. So that is the peace for you, and that is the peace for the world. Thank you, Ravi ma'am, for giving me this spotlight, and I'm so glad CWSR and Dr. Abhishek Pandey for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much. So aptly said. Wonderful. That confidence generated in children will definitely lead to peace. Well, now on behalf of CWSIR, I congratulate all the speakers of today's session for being so magnificent and insightful in sharing. Before heading towards the end of the second session, I would request Pratibha Mishra, an educationist from Mumbai, and also the director, MeetX CWSIR, to give the final remark on World Peace Summit. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am Pratibha, can we have you? Okay. All right, never mind. Moving forward, I would like to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research with a Sanskrit quote, Sang Gachadvam, Sang Verdadvam. May we move in harmony, speak in one voice. Let our minds be in agreement, just as the ancient gods shared their portion of sacrifice. I extend gratitude to the chief guests, guests of honor, special guests, keynote speakers, all the honorable country coordinators, state coordinators, country ambassadors, and the officials along with Directorate of Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research in making the second session of World Peace Summit a grand success. Without you all, it wasn't possible. Before close, I would request all of you to please open your video so that we get set ready for a virtual group photograph. I request all the participants, all the speakers, dignified intellectuals to please open the video, give a smile of peace, so that you can spread peace all over the world. Yeah, we are almost done. Thank you so much for such a beautiful smiles. Now moving towards the end of the program, I, Dr. Ravi Tripathi, moderator of today's session, on behalf of Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research, declare the formal closing of the second session of the World Peace Summit, with the positive note that every beginning has an end for a better beginning tomorrow. Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research announces the upcoming event, that is virtual doctoral convocation in humanities by Theophany University, Haiti. I would request you all to encourage CWSIR for all the upcoming events that is there in the queue. Let peace prevail across the globe as we have one hope, one dream, and with one voice we sing peace, prosperity, and love for all mankind. Thank you. Thank you so much. Namaste. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Jai Jagat.